In Lebanon, Hezbollah issued a call for the evacuation of 25 settlements in northern occupied Palestine, sites of deployment and positioning for Israeli military forces. In Uruguay, presidential and parliamentary elections are underway, with 11 candidates vying to be the next president of the nation. And in Colombia, in the midst of COP16, organizations from the countries that share the Amazon presented a new group to advocate for biodiversity, climate change, and defend their territory. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Lebanon, Hezbollah issued a call for the evacuation of 25 settlements in northern occupied Palestine, sites of deployment and positioning for Israeli military forces. The audiovisual warning was addressed to the Israeli settlers still present in these settlements, who were ordered to leave these localities immediately. This tactic, according to several local analysts, marks a new escalation between Lebanon and Israel, in addition to the impressive increase in attacks against the occupied territory. Moreover, in the last 24 hours, the Lebanese resistance has carried out 48 raids and launching airstrikes against several military installations and concentration of soldiers. In Iran, in the city of Mashhad, citizens gathered to show their support for Palestinians and Lebanon. This rally follows Israel's recent military strikes on several Iranian military facilities. Despite the significant nature of the strikes, there were no reports of mass civilian casualties or damage to Iran's economic infrastructure, which may provide a route for de-escalation. The rally in Mashhad underscores the deep-seated support for Palestinian and Lebanese causes within Iran citizens, as well as the country's resolve to stand by its allies in the face of escalating hostilities. And the Iranian mission to the United Nations denounced the role of the United States in the aggressions by the Israeli army on its territory. The Iranian mission to the UN also stated that Iraqi airspace is under the control of the United States Army, which makes the U.S. an accomplice to Israel's crimes. The Iranian mission emphasized that the Islamic Republic is within its rights to defend its security and territorial integrity of its country. In the early hours of this Saturday, the Israeli army launched a simultaneous attack against Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and although the air defense of Iran managed to contain and counter the attack, the aggression caused damage in some areas. Also in Iran, the supreme leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, said it was essential to make Israel understand the strength, will, and initiative of the Iranian nation. The statement was made during a meeting with the families of the 4 martyrs of the recent Zionist aggression against the country. The Iranian leader described the attack as a miscalculation by the Israeli government and urged to demonstrate to Benjamin Netanyahu's government the Iranian people's determination. Ayatollah said the attack should not be exaggerated nor downplayed. During a closed-door parliament session earlier, deputies praised the defense forces during the attack and called for a definite and calculated response to the Tel Aviv aggression. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian warned that his government will respond to recent Israeli aggressions. The president said Tel Aviv should know that the Iranian people will defend their sovereignty and will respond tactfully and intelligently to these attacks. The Iranian leader affirmed the Iranian response will be in proportion to the Saturday attacks and in accordance with what he described as the aggressor's wickedness and at the appropriate time and conditions. Meanwhile, at least 6 people were killed and more than 50 injured in an attack in Tel Aviv, capital city of Israel. The events took place in the vicinity of the headquarters of the Mossad, the Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations of the Zionist entity. A truck rammed the well-known Gilad bus stop where it ran over several Israeli soldiers. 5 of them died on the spot, and another one died while being transferred to a health center. Authorities report that 10 of the injured are in critical condition. The driver of the truck was neutralized by several armed civilians who were in the area. Israeli media report that some of the wounded are still under the vehicle and emergency services are mobilizing rescue helicopters. And a brutal aggression by the Zionist troops against the neighborhood of Beit Lahaya in northern Gaza left at least 40 people dead, many of them women and children. The Zionist troops waited until nightfall to bombard a block of 5 houses where at least 3 families lived. Parents tried to flee the onslaught with their children, but many did not manage to escape the aggression. So far, the number of wounded reported exceeds 80, and the number of refugees continues to grow, as houses have been reduced to rubble. Health authorities in the Gaza Strip estimate that Israel has killed more than 1,000 people so far in October, without including those who remain under the debris of dozens of buildings. In other news, in Sudan, the United Nations demanded that the government allow access to its personnel to address the food crisis affecting the Sudanese people. According to the United Nations Agency for Refugees and Children's Fund, Sudan's constraints are hampering international organizations from being able to deliver supplies and protection to the country's most vulnerable communities. The agency warned that at least 14 regions in Sudan are on the brink of famine, while in north of Darfur, famine conditions already exist. International agencies estimate that 3.7 million children under the age of 5 will suffer from severe acute malnutrition by the end of 2024, who need urgent treatment to safeguard their lives. And in Portugal, thousands of protesters filled the streets of Lisbon to demonstrate against police violence and racism. The event follows a week of unrest triggered by the fatal shooting of a 43-year-old man from Cape Verde by Portuguese police. The march, which took place on the city's central Avenida de Liberdade, was marked by peaceful but determined protests. Demonstrators chanted slogans such as "No peace without justice" and "Police violence colonial heritage," and carried placards with messages including "Racism kills" and "Black Lives Matter." The incident has sparked widespread outrage and allegations of police brutality, particularly in neighborhoods with large immigrant communities.
A young man has died. He left behind a family. Now we are asking for justice. Justice to see what will happen from now on for the future in relation to what has just happened. This must be a lesson. It's enough of letting these kinds of acts be carried out by the police.
There is a history of police violence in Portugal. The black population is 21 times more likely to be fatally injured by the police than the rest of the population. We have to face up to this reality. It's not the fault of the police officers, it's the fault of the police model.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Uruguay presidential and parliamentary elections are underway, with 11 candidates vying to be the next president of the nation. According to the election agency, more than 2.7 million voters are eligible to participate in more than 7,000 voting centers set up as of 8 a.m. local time. So far, voting intention polls have not shown any candidate with more than 50% of preferences. If that tendency remains, the candidate with the highest number of votes will advance to the second round to be held on November 24th. In addition to electing a president and renewing the parliament, voters will decide on social security and night rate referendums. And on Sunday morning around 8 a.m. local time, the former president of Uruguay, José Mujica, arrived to vote in the presidential elections in the Cerro de Montevideo. After voting accompanied by his family members, Mujica stated that he found the political campaign of the candidates a little disoriented, and the candidates were more concerned about what they are going to spend than how they are going to generate. He also assured that the challenges for the new government are security and the increase of wealth, and asserted that these issues are a national problem that no party can fix, but instead an agreement is needed. Regarding the management of the current Argentine President Javier Milei, Mujica expressed that now there are more poor people than before in Argentina. In Brazil, at least 34 million citizens will participate this Sunday in the second round of the municipal elections to be held in 51 cities. According to political experts, these elections are evenly matched between the candidates of Lula da Silva's Workers' Party and Bolsonaro's Liberal Party. These local elections are expected to have national political implications and will serve to measure the leadership of political parties for the 2026 general elections. In this electoral process, issues such as education, health, and local infrastructure are at the center of debate. Also, public safety and the fight against corruption remain among the main concerns of voters who demand improvements in the management and transparency of public resources. Moving on, the mothers and fathers of the 43 Ayotzinapa students have requested a direct meeting with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, 121 months after the disappearance of their children. At the end of a march held this Saturday in the capital of the country, the mothers and fathers of the students expressed their concern and asked to return to meetings with federal authorities. They ratified that they want to continue with the investigations and will not allow the army to obstruct them. Isidoro Vicario, a lawyer for the families, remarked that as long as there is no conclusive and scientific proof of the whereabouts of the students, they will continue to demand that they be found alive. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel called for intensified efforts to overcome current difficulties. Díaz-Canel recalled that this is not the first chapter of hardships faced by the revolution and that it has always known how to overcome them. The call came during the extraordinary plenary session of the Provincial Committee of the Communist Party in Havana. Cuban head of state acknowledged that extremely complex moments are being experienced and he is confident that they will be overcome. Díaz-Canel ratified his confidence in the talented Cuban people, pointing out that their participation must be promoted more. The head of state also made reference to the importance of breaking with the import mentality and strengthening social work in the communities, especially the most vulnerable.
There is a lot of progress to be made in the economic, political, and social fields. It is a province that has an infrastructure. It is a province that has a responsibility to the country. As it was explained here, 45% of the country's income depends on the people of Havana. And there are things that are done in Havana that are not done in other provinces.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Found your break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Colombia, in the midst of COP16, organizations from the countries that share the Amazon presented a new group to advocate for biodiversity, climate change, and defend their territory. In the middle of a space known as Mambeadero, which is a traditional conversation with indigenous and Amazonian grandparents from other peoples of the world, a new coalition called G9 was born with the firm determination to defend indigenous peoples, their territories, and their rights. The new group is made up of indigenous peoples from Colombia, Bolivia, Ecuador, Suriname, Guyana, Venezuela, Brazil, and Peru.
In the face of the threats we face, exploitation of natural resources, deforestation, exploitation of hydrocarbons, mining, organized crime, climate variability, invasion, expansion of the agricultural frontier and dispossession of our land, we reaffirm our ancestral commitment to be a strategic partner in the protection and conservation of biodiversity and life. The environmental crisis is cured from the territories which are the best preservers. Therefore, the demarcation of our land is a fundamental pillar in the fight against the climatic crisis. Otherwise, we will not have peace with nature.
Former Bolivian President Evo Morales denounces that he was the victim of an attempted arrest while traveling through the tropic region this Sunday. The incident occurred around 7 a.m. local time when Morales was on his way to a radio interview. It was then when the bullet impact compromised the safety of those who were in the moving vehicle. The van was shot 14 times, several hit the front and rear windshields. The driver was wounded in the incident. And China demands the United States to stop operations that undermine peace in the Taiwan Strait. The demand came after the U.S. State Department announced the sale of more than $2 billion in arms to Taiwan. The Chinese Foreign Ministry reminded Washington that the sale of arms to the Chinese island seriously violates the One China principle and the three joint communiques, especially the one signed on August 17, 1982. Beijing has submitted a note of protest and warned Washington that it will take all necessary measures to safeguard national sovereignty. A tropical storm Trami made landfall Sunday in central Vietnam, where authorities warned that heavy rains could cause flooding. According to local media, the storm made landfall in the city of Da Nang in central Vietnam around 10 a.m. local time, with winds of 88 kilometers per hour. Weather agencies are expected to move towards the southwest of the country through the day with less strength. The Vietnamese Civil Aviation Authority stated that 4 airports in the country, including Da Nang, will resume operations earlier than expected, after being suspended for a few hours in anticipation of Trami's impact. The Viva Venezuela World Festival takes place in the city of Caracas, where several national artists will perform with the aim of promoting the culture and traditions of the South American nation. The event that began this Saturday, October 26, which takes place at the Aquiles Nazoa Cultural Center, counted with the musical performances of Che Hurtado y su bandola guayanesa, Canto Hibi and Madrugadores de Cocuina, while the Sunday artists such as Berenice del Moral, Canto Hibi and Serenata Guayanesa will perform at 4 p.m. local time. The Viva Venezuela World Festival is not only a display of the cultural richness of the country, but also a reaffirmation of the national unity on the world scene. And Nicaragua celebrated the traditional parade of the Aguizotes, a festivity that revives the country's popular myths and legends. Let's see.
During the day, Menimbo in the Department of Masaya is the scene of the colorful parade of the children's Aguizotes, in which dozens of children, accompanied by their parents, participated in this tradition that shows Nicaraguan myths and legends that continue in the new generations.
I am very happy thanks to the Aguizotes. Here I celebrate all the legends of Masaya, like the Taconuda and the Carreta.
I am participating in the traditions of Masaya since it's multi-ethnic and multicultural. It is great to transmit the customs and traditions that Masaya has, since Masaya has an endless number of them.
It is the first time that my daughter participates in these events of the Aguizotes. We are proud and happy of Masaya and its traditions. We will continue with these traditions, instilling in her the traditions of Masaya.
At nightfall, thousands of young people and adults walked more than 4 kilometers of this folkloric city, wearing costumes representing iconic characters of Nicaraguan colorful stories.
Being the scarecrow is a great joy for me. Year after year I have done this. I like very much to be here dancing and enjoying everything.
This tradition has been going on for about 50 years and we have been rescuing it for about 7 years. We are thankful to the good government we have because without this government this would have been lost.
The government of Nicaragua supports these popular festivities as part of its commitment to preserve and promote the country's cultural richness.
We are here with these myths and legends of fear with the famous Aguazitis of Masaya, which unite all the people of Masaya, of all generations, from children to adults, all our government, our mayor's office, we are all accompanying all the people of Masaya, as it corresponds to our good government together with the people of Masaya, bringing forward the culture and tradition, because art, culture, and tradition is also part of the restitution of rights, but also of the values that we have been promoting from our government.
In addition to the cultural richness, this festivity boosts tourism and local commerce.
teleSUR, Nicaragua.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.